Good morning, YouTube friends. It's Sunday morning, I think the 22nd of July, and I'm sitting out in the pavilion. It's actually got really quite cool, so I've just got my coat round my shoulders. I'm going to get working soon. I'll be able to take it off. And it's morning. I'm having a very slow start this morning because I worked really hard yesterday in the garden. It was great. I really enjoyed it. But by the end of the day, and when I look back at what I'd done, I was absolutely amazed, firstly, and tired. Very, very tired. So we're just going to have a little sit in the pavilion and a chat. And then I'll show you some of the things that I was doing yesterday. A proper full-on gardening day. I weeded all around the raspberries. It's down here. And planted out some rhubarb. My son really likes rhubarb. I'm not a big fan, but my son who lives in London, he said when he was here last time, he said, "How much rhubarb would you have to grow, Mum, in order to be able to process it, put it in the freezer and have rhubarb every day for a year?" Now that's really liking rhubarb, isn't it? Anyway, I put some rhubarb in for him. And hopefully that'll I'll mulch it round well with loads of organic matter, and that should be okay. It's a bit late going in, but it'll be fine. So I weeded round all the raspberries. I dug all the potatoes. I'd watched a YouTube video because I watch a lot of gardening YouTube videos, and I watched one by a guy I really enjoy called Charles Dowding, who does no-dig gardening. I'll leave a link to him if I can. Down below. I will, because he's got a lovely gentle manner, but he also explodes all the gardening myths about crop rotation and what you can't put in your compost heap and what crops can follow after what and how long things take to grow. He's great, and he did a little experiment with potatoes, Charlotte, which is a variety I've grown, and he said, if you haven't got your potatoes up yet, and it was almost like he was talking to just me. He says, if you haven't got your potatoes up yet, Kate, then you should get them up. So I spent yesterday lifting potatoes. Now, if you remember, I had potatoes in the raised beds over there, and also behind me in the garden over here. But I'd planted up a load of pots, hadn't I, with as an experiment with different varieties of potato, not knowing that we were going to have the driest summer since 1976. I remember that summer, 1976. It was absolutely glorious. Just shone, the sun shone every day. Anyway, it was like that this last few months, and so of course things in pots haven't done well at all, not even a little bit. And so even though I was watering these potatoes, I'll show you, because I've cropped them all now. Well, that's not true. I've still got some more pots to crop. I'm going to leave them for a little bit longer and sort of water them and see if I can get them a little tiny bit bigger. Because if you think about it, most vegetables are just water, aren't they? Wrapped around whatever they are, a cucumber or a courgette or a cabbage or a pea or whatever. And so what we're trying to do is get the crops to grow bigger by watering them. So I'm going to leave the potatoes in pots for just a tiny bit longer, maybe another week, and harvest them then. But I've had all the ones in the ground up, and I'll show you them in a minute, because I was quite surprised by. I'm always surprised. I don't know why I'm surprised, because it's supposed to work this way. I'm supposed to put things in the ground and then at the proper time dig them up, and they're supposed to work. But I'm always really amazed and gratified. So I shall show you the potato crop. What I might do actually is just carry on whipping on, and I'll just put little clips of video in between. Yeah, that's what I'll do. I'll edit it like that. So look, here's some potatoes. There they are. So I dug all the potatoes up, and this morning I was so tired I couldn't clean all the potato tops away, because I have to cut all the roots off before I can put them in the compost heap, because I don't want to put any tiny potatoes in the compost heap, because otherwise the compost heap will just start growing potatoes and that would be a nuisance. So I've got to cut all the roots off. Hello, Rita. And then I can compost the leaves. So, oh, Rita, darling, isn't she white and beautiful underneath? Come here, I need you away from there. There's a good girl. There's a good girl. So on the table here, I've got Rita and Prudence. Prudence is just sitting there. And so while the cats are here, I might as well talk about the cats. So Rita and Prudence are right here, the two sisters who are these beautiful tortoiseshells. Come on, sit on my knee. There we are. And I just want to talk about the cats a bit because I'll just have a slug of coffee. I'll edit out the slug of coffee though. I'll talk about cats for a moment then because all kittens... Oh, there's Prudence, you see? She just wants to be in on the act. Oh, she's just sitting on the chair next to me now. So all kittens are gone. I went to see Harry and Thomas yesterday. They're just living here, and then I've also seen a picture of all the other three little boys, the one little boy and two little girls who've gone to live elsewhere, and they're making their new owners very, very happy indeed. It's all good. And so I phoned the vet and made an appointment for Sadie, and what the vet said was the kittens needed to have stopped feeding from Sadie for at least 1 week before they would take her to spay her. So she's so we're going on Tuesday, which will be about a week. Anyway, during the whole time when the kittens were little, Sadie got completely and utterly crazy about having any of the other cats around her. And so, as I said, if you watch any more of these, the cats pretty much disappeared. They couldn't be doing with this stupid behaviour, so they just went. And Rita, this one, lived out on the farm. I mean, it's beautiful weather and there's lots to eat and so on, but I didn't see her for 10 days, which is a long time. I don't like that. As soon as there was only one left, they all started coming back, and because they could kind of handle one kitten. But Sadie is still completely mental, even now that there are no kittens. And she seems to have focused all her rage and hatred onto this one cat, who is actually the sweetest little cat. Isn't she pretty? She's got a lovely face. She's got a lovely look at that. I love her little markings on the top of her head there. Anyway, so whenever Sadie's around, and she's actually on the alert for her now, sort of sticking her head around, where's that cat gone? Because if it happens while we're filming, you'll hear, oh my God, she's just so fierce towards her. And there's no need to be, because there's nothing to protect now. So I'm pinning all my hopes on Sadie's hormones returning to some sort of equilibrium after Tuesday, and after she's recovered from Tuesday, which will take a little while. And I think, as I've said once before, it's been quite a year for Sadie. So once she's back from the vets and once she's fully recovered, I'm hoping that these two can be friends again, because it's not very nice having this explosion of cat wars. At least once a day I hear this tremendous kerfuffle where Sadie's just chasing her away. So poor old Rita, that's cats. Norma, it's like nothing ever happened. She's back in her favourite spot in the house. You see, I'd like you to move out of the way of the camera, please. I wonder if you could just sit there instead. Is that okay? It's gone round the back. So she's sitting there. She's all on alert there. She's got her ears pricked, and she's definitely on the alert for Sadie. It's all very crazy here. Can you see why I couldn't keep a kitten? What would I be wanting with 5 cats? 4 cats is more than mayhem enough for me. So as I say, Norma, completely as if nothing ever happened, chilling out in all of her favourite spots. Before I came in from the garden, just as I was properly tired and about to call it a day, I went into the shed where I keep all my bee equipment. Now, this next thing I'm going to tell you is completely my fault. Completely. A while ago, I went down to the apiary and I was looking at the bees, and there was a box of frames that were full of stores, so like possibly honey, but more likely just the fondant and the sugar syrup that I'd put on over winter. This was way back in March time. And there were no bees in it. So I covered the whole thing over, carried it all up and put it in my shed. Just covered it up, but not well enough. And in this lovely hot weather, I've just had the shed door open day and night for no other reason that I'm just a bit lazy. I didn't remember to go around every night and shut the shed door. So the shed door's been open. Now, bees. So if you're a bee and you're a newly emerged bee, there's all these different jobs you can do in the hive. And I suspect they get interviewed, you know, are you going to be a cleaner bee, where you clean the hive out of debris and dead bees and all that kind of thing? Are you going to be a guard bee that sits on the door there and guards the hive from any intruders, which is any foreign bees coming in? But just as an aside, the interesting thing about that, so the guard bees are standing at the door, at the entranceway, and if a bee comes in that's not from their hive, they'll chase it away unless it's laden with pollen, in which case they'll let it in. It's clever. So there's cleaners, guards, foragers, the ones that go out and collect all the nectar, pollen and so on and bring it back. But then there are scout bees. I call them the estate agents. They're the ones who go off looking for likely new places for the hive to set up home if they're going to swarm. And they're looking for rich sources of easily available sugar. Now, in my shed, with the door open, is this big frame of stores, sugar, ostensibly, covered up, but obviously not covered up well enough. So I just went into the shed yesterday just to sling something in there that I'd finished with, to find the whole room full of bees. I mean, completely full of bees. I thought they'd swarmed. And I looked at them and thought, I don't know what to do. I'm so tired. I want my supper. But I had to put my bee suit on and come up with a plan of what to do. And I was kind of thinking on my feet. First of all, I thought it was a swarm, and then I thought it really isn't, because it's July. Bees tend not to swarm towards the end of their season. Also, the last time I looked in the colony, they were all contented, all happy, and there went a right lot of bees. So they're not actually ready to swarm, but they could have. It could have been a swarm. But I thought, no, more likely this is a load of robber bees. So that the scouts gone back, told whoever's in the hive. I found a very quick, cheap source. A bit like finding, a Poundland candy store. And she'd done all the orientation to tell them where it was, and they'd all gone. So I put my bee suit on, and the box is too heavy for me to lift, far too heavy for me to lift. So thinking on my feet, I set up another box. So these square boxes that stack on top of one another. I set up another box outside, on a floor outside. I'll show you in a minute. And then, with my bee suit on, I lifted the frames one at a time into the new box, because I couldn't lift the whole box. And that actually gave me the chance to have a look at the frames as well. There weren't that many bees on them. They were definitely just robbers. So I took these frames out and lifted them one at a time into the new box with all these bees everywhere. And if anyone could have seen me, they would have thought that it was definitely a swarm, but it really wasn't. Bees, one frame, because there are 11 frames in a box. So I lifted them all into the new thing. And then I taped with gaffer tape all the way around the bottom so that they couldn't get in and out. But then, of course, there were bees inside that needed to get out but not get back in again. And there's this clever thing that's called a porter escape. It's like a one-way valve. The bees go in it, but then they can't get back the other way. And it's on a crown board, on a roof board. So I put one of those on with a couple of bricks. And left it. Now I'm going to go back this morning, and there should be firstly no bees in the box, because I left no gaps where they could get in and rob the food again, and there should be no bees in the shed. I'm looking across at it now, It looks fairly still. Well, there's actually a couple of bees around the roof. I hope that I've solved that one. So then when I was all suited up, I went down to look at my proper bees, where hopefully these had come from, down in the apiary. They all looked really happy. They looked really happy. So what I've done with the bees, I've put frames on the top, which are usually the frames of wax that the bees make their honey onto. The foundation has got wires in it, so that it keeps it nice and sturdy when you're extracting it. But I'm hoping that my bees will find the heather, which is only a mile up the road. Bees will go 3 miles, 5 kilometres easily for forage on a good day. And if they collect heather honey, then it should be on unwired frames, because then you just cut it out of the comb and eat it like that. And I'll send that to my son in London too, because he really likes heather honey. He likes honey. I do send him a lot of stuff, don't I? I send him eggs through the post. And speaking of eggs, this is a bit random, isn't it? I've got 15 hens now that since Hilda went. 15? 14? Well, anyway, over 12. I've got about 14, I think. 2 eggs yesterday. 2 eggs. They're not liking this heat. They're just lying around very lethargically, dust bathing, just like on a go slow. 2 eggs. And then Eileen, I was telling somebody in the comments, I was asking how was her favourite goose, Eileen. Well, Eileen is molting, and she's got no tail feathers, and all the tail feathers are lying around in the run. I'll put a picture of that in as well. And she's she looks really sad. She still can swim though. I still take her up to the side of the lake for a little swim, and she likes that. But she's got no tail feathers at all now, which, if anything, makes her look even sadder than normal. So yesterday then I did all the digging, dug up all the potatoes, weeded all the raspberry beds, did a load of mulching with the big bags of hops that I get from the brewery. I used all the hops now. I need to go and get some more. They're really heavy as well, so that was tiring. I had my bee emergency, and then, total reward, I had everything from my garden for my supper. So I had some of the potatoes. When I was digging the potatoes, I started off very carefully lifting them with a fork, but of course the fork goes through the potatoes and you can't keep those, they just will rot really quickly. So I think there were 4 that I forked before I gave up forking and just did it with my hand, so as to prevent that. Careless forking costs spuds, my favourite garden writer once said, Lawrence Hills. And it's true, you've got to be really careful when you're using a fork. So I stopped forking, but I used the forky potatoes for my supper with a big salad, with one of my cucumbers, which I'm picking, they're only this big, but I had the whole thing chopped into a salad. Absolutely delicious. Absolutely delicious. So different from a cucumber from the shop. The skins are really nice and thin and tender. It's really, really good. Okay, so we've talked about cats, garden, bees. What else is there to talk about? No. Just getting Sadie ready for her next, the next of her big adventures. So yes, it's cool today, which is a blessing. I think it'll get out warmer because the forecast says that it's going to be warmer than it has been. So it'll be me and the hosepipe again. Okay, my lovelies, that will do. I will stop now and put on those little bits of videos that I said I would. Thanks so much for watching. If you're still watching, maybe you clicked off half an hour ago. Bye. Where the hell do you think you're going? What do you think you're doing?